There's most certainly one person on the planet none of us would want to be right now, and that's none other than California's feckless, incompetent governor, Gavin Newsom. Not only is he being humiliated on the international stage while clicking glasses with his fellow globalist ilk at Davos, but his state is literally economically imploding as we speak. The people standing at the World Economic Forum didn't just watch their own world unravel with Trump's speech. They actually watched a public execution of an American governor in real time. And that's exactly what we're going to see as well. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else, so make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. The ultra-woke grease monkey governor Gavin Newsom was in Davos this week doing his best to court the world's globalists to come to a shattered state of California, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent couldn't help but remind everyone in attendance what an abject failure of a governor Gruesome Newsom is.
I think it's very, very ironic that Governor Newsom, who strikes me as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken, may be the only Californian who knows less about economics than Kamala Harris. He's here this week with his billionaire sugar daddy, Alex Soros, and Davos is a perfect place for a man who, when everyone else was on lockdown, when he was having people arrested for going to church, he was having $1,000 a night meals at the French Laundry, and I'm sure the California people won't forget that. And I can tell my message to Governor Newsom is the Trump administration is coming to California. We are going to crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse. And I was told he was asked to give a speech on his signature policies, but he's not speaking because what have his economic policies brought? Outward migration from California, a gigantic budget deficit, the largest homeless population in America, and the poor folks in the Palisades who had their homes burned down. He is here hobnobbing with the global elite while his California citizens are still homeless. Shame on him. He is too smug, too self-absorbed, and too economically illiterate to know anything.
Hear, hear! Hear, hear! That was one of the single most brilliant takedowns of feckless failure of a governor who could only win in states that are as mired in electoral corruption as is California. California has the highest poverty rate in the nation, bar none. No other state even comes close. It has the widest income gap between middle income and upper middle income brackets, and the widest disparity between rich and poor in the nation. In fact, California's wealth disparity is actually worse than Mexico's. It's worse than a third world nation. 80% of California's jobs, underscore that, 80% are below the median wage, half of which are paid less than $40,000 a year. California has the highest unemployment in the entire nation, and it has the highest level of illiteracy. It is the very definition of a failed state. According to the U.S. Census, every year for the past 15 years, an average number of 100,000 Californians leave the state as over and against those who move in. And this freak has the gall to want to nationalize that statewide apocalypse by running for president. And don't worry about, at this point, the guy's not going to even come close to getting the nomination, let alone the election. And to make matters even worse, as Bessent pointed out, Newsom is an elitist hypocrite who preaches sacrifice all the while living like royalty, like while everyone else was in lockdown. And what a symbol that is for the whole of his state. His latest disaster, again, note his latest disaster, is the fallout from his $20 minimum wage law for fast food workers, which he sold as a victory for working families. Well, the data's in. And as I'm sure you would have guessed, it's been an unmitigated disaster. Multiple studies confirm California lost between 10,000 and 23,000 fast food jobs in just 18 months. Pizza Hut eliminated 1,200 delivery drivers before the law even took effect. Rubio's Coastal Grill, which invented the fish taco, closed 48 California locations in a single day and filed for bankruptcy twice in 4 years. Foster's Freeze workers in Lemoore thought the April 1st closure announcement was an April Fool's joke. It wasn't. Even workers themselves said they'd rather have jobs paying, $12, $15 an hour than no jobs at $20 an hour. Meanwhile, 89% of California fast food workers who kept their jobs had their hours slashed, meaning they were actually making less money as a result. Isn't economics fun? You raise the minimum wage, and what do your employers do? Well, they cut your hours. So you end up making even less than before the minimum wage got raised. Again, it's called economics. Businesses will always, by definition, seek to cut costs so as to maximize profits. That's the only way they can function as a business. Anything else would be like trying to drive a car without fuel. In the meantime, McDonald's prices in California have actually doubled since 2014, and customers earning under $45,000 a year have basically stopped eating. They stopped eating there because they just can't afford it anymore. I mean, again, this is what happens when politicians prioritize virtue signaling over economic reality. What's the old saying, right? Everything woke turns to dung, to use the King James phraseology. But the fast food collapse is just one symptom. It actually gets worse. It gets a lot worse. Wait until you see this. But speaking of California crooks, do you ever wonder how people like Nancy Pelosi seem to know exactly when to buy certain stocks? How politicians seem to have a secret knowledge of what's going to do well in the market? Well, you know what it is. It's all insider trading. Pelosi and her cronies have been getting away with it for years. But guess what, gang? You and I actually have access to that very same inside information. Thanks to a little SEC loophole, we can track what the big corporate CEOs are buying up in real time, and then we could just ride their coattails into financial success legally and ethically. Once you learn the secret of the trade, you're in. Now, to do that, you've got to join me along with my good friend and trading expert, Ross Givens, this Thursday, January 22nd at 3 p.m. Eastern. Ross is the real deal. His insider tips have led to returns of over 200%. Some have hit as nearly high as 1,500%. It's going to be huge, but seats are limited. So click the link below, snag one of the remaining online seats. It's going to change your life, gang. You can't afford to miss it. California has experienced a massive wave of retail and restaurant closures since 2023, driven by a combination of organized theft, rising operational costs, and, of course, the state's $20 minimum wage for fast food workers that took effect back in April of 2024. Target officially closed 9 stores nationwide in September 2023, including 3 in the San Francisco Bay Area, citing theft and worker safety concerns. The discount chain 99 cents only stores permanently closed all 265 stores in California, eliminating approximately 14,000 jobs after filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. In-N-Out Burgers officially left the state. Additionally, pharmacy chains have accelerated closures, with Walgreens shuttering at least 35 stores in California in the last 2 years. In addition, as we've talked about before, California's energy sector is being gutted as we speak. Chevron, one of the world's largest multinational energy corporations with a market capitalization of approximately $300 billion, ranks among the top 5 oil and gas companies in the world. They are officially leaving California. Chevron recently announced they were moving their headquarters to Houston. This after calling the Golden State their home for over 140 years. CEO Mike Wirth was blunt as to why they were leaving. Gavin Newsom's California is an unmitigated disaster. It's simply too tough a place to do business. The taxes, the regulations, they're utterly out of control. And it's not just Chevron. Valero, which supplies a substantial portion of California's fuel, they have announced that they too are leaving California. They plan on closing their Benicia refinery by April of 2026, which economists say will have a devastating impact on the state's gas supply. You think gas prices are high now? Just wait until April. So now you can see why Gruesome Newsom was in Davos. He's desperate to try to find new businesses to move into his failed state. But that's precisely why Scott Bessent called him out. He was doing these businesses a huge favor by reminding them of California's mass exodus of their residents, their massive budget deficit, their largest homeless population in America, and the ongoing fallout from devastating wildfires. If you're a business person, the last place on the planet that you would want to do business is Gavin Newsom's California. The good news is that it's becoming increasingly clear. The question isn't whether Newsom will run for president in 2028. The question is whether anyone, even inside the Davos bubble, will take him seriously after this much-deserved international humiliation. Hey, before you go, gang, do not miss out. Every Friday, my weekly wrap-up gives you everything you missed during the week. Live streams, top videos, podcasts, events, and the week's biggest Patriot wins. Sign up free at turley.pub/recap and start ending your week with faith, family, and freedom.